The Macintosh Duo system offers the best of notebook and desktop computing. At the heart of the Duo system are the PowerBook Duo 210 and 230. The 210 and 230 are the lightest and most compact PowerBook computers. They provide Macintosh 2FX performance. The 210 and 230 can be docked to a Macintosh Duo dock or Duo Mini dock to take advantage of the networking and expansion capabilities of a desktop system. PowerBook Duo accessories include the Duo dock, Duo Mini dock, floppy adapter, external floppy drive, AC adapter, and battery charger. Inserting a Duo 210 or 230 into the Duo dock provides access to a complete Macintosh desktop system. Connection is easy with a motorized insert eject and 2 security keys. The Duo dock provides access to monitor display, keyboard, mouse, external microphone, and better networking capability. The Duo Mini dock is more portable than the Duo dock, and it provides the same easy connection. The Duo Mini dock requires a minimum of desktop real estate. It's ideal for use at home, where there is no need for advanced features such as Ethernet or 24-bit video. The Duo Mini dock allows connection of the 210 or 230 to another Macintosh computer. It provides access to SCSI, hard disk, and floppy drives, 8-bit video, 2 serial ports, modem connection, and expansion capabilities. The floppy adapter provides connection to an optional low-power ADB device, such as a mouse, and an external floppy drive. Other optional accessories include the external floppy drive, an AC adapter, and a battery charger. The PowerBook Duo 210 and 230 computers have identical ports and connectors. The Duo 210 and 230 back panels include an internal modem port to install an optional modem or null modem card, a power on-off switch, a 152-pin main expansion connector to provide the interface between the Duo computers and expansion bars, such as the floppy adapter, Duo dock, and Duo Mini dock, a power adapter input connector, a serial port to connect printers, modems, or fax machines, The Duo Mini dock and Duo dock have almost identical ports and connectors. The Duo Mini dock rear panel includes a pass-through modem port, a security slot for connecting an optional locking cable, a sound-in port to connect external sound input devices. The sound input is one channel only and does not support stereo input. A sound out jack for mono sound output. A SCSI port using the HDI 30 connector. The connector has special grounding and sensing for the SCSI disk mode. SCSI disk mode allows the PowerBook Duos to function as an external hard disk drive with any Macintosh computer. A printer port using the standard Macintosh Mini DIN 8 connector. The printer port supports both local talk and serial communications. A modem port that supports external serial communications. This port is disabled when the PowerBook Duo internal modem is connected. A video output connector, which is the standard DV15 video connector. An ADB port for low-power ADB devices. An HDI 20 external floppy drive port. This is on the Mini dock only, not the Duo dock. Only the new low-power, low-profile 1.4 megabyte super drive should be used. A power input connector that accepts the new 25-watt power adapter shipped with the PowerBook Duos. This connector does not accept power adapters from earlier PowerBooks. Plugging the power adapter into this port automatically powers the Duo computers when attached to the Mini dock. a power button that acts as both the power on for the mini dock and the PowerBook Duo. The Duo dock back panel also includes a monitor power plug, an AC in plug, 2 new bus slots. Note that the security slot is in a slightly different location. The floppy adapter is an optional accessory for PowerBook Duos. It has 2 ports and 1 connector, a single ADB port using the standard Macintosh Mini DIN 4 connector that can connect an optional low-power ADB input device, such as a mouse, an HDI 20 or high-density interface 20-pin external floppy drive port. The floppy adapter also has a security slot. The floppy adapter connects to the PowerBook's 152-pin expansion connector. Now, we'll demonstrate how the components of the PowerBook Duo system work together. First, we'll show how the PowerBook Duo slides into the Duo dock. Make sure the Duo dock is plugged in. Don't force the computer into the Duo dock. When the computer is in most of the way, the dock pulls it in the rest of the way. Here's how the Duo PowerBook attaches to the mini dock. Pull up on the latch at the top of the Duo mini dock. Slide the posts on the mini dock into the corresponding holes on the back of the PowerBook and gently push the 2 devices together. Push down on the latch at the top of the mini dock to secure the connection. The floppy adapter snaps onto the back of the PowerBook Duo and allows you to connect the HDI 20 external floppy drive. The PowerBook Duo AC adapter can attach to the optional PowerBook Duo battery recharger. Before removing the main battery, shut down the PowerBook and disconnect the power adapter. Make sure the PowerBook is placed so that the front is facing you. Push the release button on the battery door and slide the battery door about 1/2 inch until it stops. Using the door as a handle, pull out the main battery. Pull the battery door open past the second tab stop and slide the door off the main battery. To remove the keyboard, make sure the PowerBook is closed and latched. Turn the computer over. Remove the 4 case screws from the bottom of the computer using the number 8 Torx driver. Turn the computer upright and open the display. Handle the keyboard carefully in the next step to avoid tearing the cables between the keyboard and the logic board. Carefully tilt the computer and lift out the keyboard. Turn the keyboard over and place it on the palm rest. Using a small flat blade screwdriver, push out the release tabs. Push away from you toward the back panel. Remove the 2 keyboard cables. Set the keyboard aside. Next, remove the RAM expansion card if one is installed. Holding the card by the edges, disconnect the card from connector J9. Please stop the tape and remove the main battery, keyboard, and memory expansion. To remove the clutch covers, turn the computer so that the rear panel faces you. Use a small flat blade screwdriver to push off the right and left clutch covers. Pry up the left side and then the right side of the center clutch cover. Be careful not to tear the display cable located beneath the clutch cover. Carefully pull the cover to the right and remove it from the display. The clutch covers are easily damaged during removal. These are considered disposable and can be replaced as a kit. When removing the display assembly, use caution to avoid tearing the display cable. Open the display so that it lies flat. Be sure to support the display from beneath with a flat object, such as a 1/2-inch book or box, to prevent unnecessary stress of the display cable. To remove the display assembly, remove the 2 screws and the display mounting clips. Gently lift the display legs out of the holes in the stiffener, taking care not to damage the display cable. Rest the display on the support beneath it. To remove the top case, raise the left corner of the top case and release the case snap. Then raise the right corner. Slide the top case off the 4 interlocking tabs by gently pulling toward you about 1 inch. Remove the top case from the bottom case. Make sure you slide the top case off. If you lift it off, the tabs may break. Remove the 2 rubber bumpers from the chassis. Using an IC extractor, disconnect the display cable from J8. Using a jeweler's screwdriver, pry the display cable ferrite bead off the CPU stiffener. Set aside the display assembly. Stop the tape and remove the clutch covers, display assembly, and top case. Next, you'll remove the hard drive. Using the number 8 Torx driver, remove the 3 self-threading screws that secure the hard drive to the CPU stiffener. Pull back the EMI shield and lift out the hard drive slightly at an angle. Using an IC extractor, disconnect the hard drive cable from connector J15. Set the hard drive on the mat. Remove the 4 screws, 2 on each side, and the 2 mounting brackets from the hard drive. Stop the tape and remove the hard drive. Next, you'll remove the backup battery and the trackball assembly. First, remove the backup battery from the trackball assembly. Carefully disconnect the backup battery from connector J16. Using an IC extractor, disconnect the trackball cable from connector J14. To remove the trackball assembly, remove the two self-threading screws that secure the trackball assembly to the chassis. Lift out the trackball assembly. Stop the tape and remove the backup battery and trackball assembly. To remove the CPU stiffener, first use a jeweler screwdriver to disconnect the display switch cable located on the left side of the trackball assembly from connector J13. Remove the microphone from the CPU stiffener. It's located at the middle back of the stiffener. Use a jeweler screwdriver to pry it up if necessary. Remove the two self-threading screws and the machine screw that secure the CPU stiffener to the bottom case. Lift the CPU stiffener with attached rear cover straight up and remove it from the bottom case. Stop the tape and remove the CPU stiffener. Next, you'll remove the feet and rear cover from the CPU stiffener and the input-output door from the rear cover. To remove the feet, use a jeweler screwdriver to pry off the caps from the left and right flip feet. Remove the two screws, washers, and flip feet from the rear cover. Next, you'll remove the rear cover from the CPU stiffener. Pull out a corner of the rear cover. Remove the rear cover from the CPU stiffener. To remove the input-output door from the rear cover, unhook the metal link at one end of the input-output door. Remove the input-output door and attached link from the rear cover. Stop the tape and remove the feet, rear cover, and input-output door. Next, remove the logic board. Remove the one remaining logic board screw. Raise the side of the logic board opposite the 152-pin docking connector. Slide the docking connector out of the bottom case and remove the logic board. Carefully disconnect the microphone from connector J5. Disconnect the on-off board or modem board if installed from connector J6. Please stop the tape and remove the logic board. Reassemble the PowerBook Duo 230 by reversing the take-apart procedures. First, connect the on-off board or modem card if one was installed to connector J6. The PowerBook won't work unless an on-off board or modem card is connected to the logic board. Replace the logic board into the bottom case. Connect the microphone to connector J5. Slide the docking connector into place. Attach the one logic board mounting screw. You'll replace the remaining screws later. Stop the tape and replace the logic board. Next, replace the input-output door and the rear cover. Hook the metal link of the input-output door to the rear cover. Snap the input-output door into place. Next, attach the rear cover to the CPU stiffener. Press the rear cover into place. To replace the feet, screw the flip feet and washers to the rear cover. Press the flip feet caps. Stop the tape and replace the input-output door, rear cover, and feet. Next, you'll replace the CPU stiffener. Turn the bottom case so that the back panel faces you. When replacing the CPU stiffener, be sure to wrap the hard drive EMI shield around the outside of the stiffener. Lay the CPU stiffener into the bottom case so that the rear cover fits into place in the bottom case. Be sure the microphone is out of your way. Attach the machine screw and two self-threading screws that secure the CPU stiffener to the bottom case. Be careful when attaching the self-threading screws. If you over-tighten the screws, the stiffener could warp and cause problems. Press the microphone into place in the CPU stiffener. Connect the display switch cable to connector J13. Stop the tape and replace the CPU stiffener. Next, you'll replace the trackball assembly. Turn the PowerBook around so that the front of the bottom case faces you. Put the trackball assembly into place in the bottom case. Be sure to route the display switch cable around the trackball. Connect the trackball cable to connector J14. Replace the two self-threading screws to secure the trackball assembly to the chassis. Next, replace the backup battery. Connect the backup battery cable to connector J16. Be sure to wrap the backup battery cable around the trackball. Set the backup battery in place in the trackball assembly. Stop the tape and replace the trackball assembly and backup battery. Now, replace the hard drive. First, replace the 4 screws and the 2 mounting brackets on the hard drive. Pull back the EMI shield and the CPU stiffener and set the hard drive into place. Connect the hard drive cable to connector J15. Make sure the hard drive cable lies beneath the EMI shield. Replace the 3 self-threading screws that secure the hard drive and EMI shield to the CPU stiffener. Don't over-tighten the screws. Stop the tape and replace the hard drive. Next, replace the display assembly. First, place a support behind the computer. Lay the display assembly on the support. Place the display legs into the holes in the stiffener. Replace the 2 screws and display mounting clips. Attach the display cable ferret bead to the CPU stiffener using a piece of 2-sided tape. Finally, connect the display cable to connector J8. Stop the tape and replace the display assembly. Now, you'll replace the top case and clutch covers. Place the rubber bumpers on the chassis with the notched ends aligned. The notch of the right bumper goes toward the rear. The notch of the left bumper is toward the front. Replace the top case by sliding the 4 interlocking tabs at the front into the notches in the bottom case. Snap the rear of the top case into place. Finally, replace the clutch covers. Turn the computer around and snap the center clutch cover into place. It's easier to replace the left and right clutches if you set the display at a 90-degree angle. Slide the left and right clutch covers into position. Stop the tape and replace the top case and clutch covers. Before replacing the keyboard, replace the RAM expansion card. Hold the expansion card by the edges and connect the card to connector J9. To replace the keyboard, first place the keyboard face down on the palm rest with the cables away from you. Connect the 2 keyboard cables to connectors J11 and J12 on the logic board. Close the release tabs. Gently flip the keyboard over into place, being careful not to tear the keyboard cables. Close, latch, and turn the computer over. Replace the 4 case screws that secure the keyboard to the bottom case. The longer case screw goes into the recessed screw hole farthest from the rear panel. Be careful not to over-tighten these screws. Over-tightening could warp the keyboard and restrict key movement. After replacing the screws, check the keyboard key movement. Now stop the tape and replace the RAM expansion and the keyboard. Finally, you'll replace the main battery. Push the battery door to the tab stop on the main battery. Insert the main battery and slide the battery door closed. Stop the tape and replace the main battery. This concludes take apart and reassembly of the PowerBook Duo 230. Make sure you shut down the unit, eject the PowerBook Duo, and disconnect any cables before you begin take apart. First, you'll remove the cover. Pinch the cover at the horizontal bumps inside the front opening and tilt the cover to a 45-degree angle. Lift the angled cover straight up to remove it from the base. To remove the release mechanism, use the small, flat-bladed screwdriver to release the latch and disconnect the 2-wire motor cable from connector J18. Remove the 4 long screws that secure the release mechanism to the logic board. Raise the motor end of the release mechanism and pull the mechanism out of the subassembly. Stop the tape and remove the cover and release mechanism. Next, remove the subassembly. Pinch the release clip of the power supply cable and pull it straight up from connector J11. Using the medium flat-bladed screwdriver, loosen the 2 captive screws that secure the subassembly to the base. The screws don't come out all the way, so you can't remove them completely. When removing the subassembly, be careful not to bend or damage the EMI fence fingers adjacent to the rear connectors on the logic board. Pull the subassembly toward you slightly until it stops. If the subassembly doesn't move, the screws may not be loose enough. Lift the subassembly straight up to remove it from the base. The subassembly is heavy, so make sure you have enough room to put it down nearby after you lift it off the base. Stop the tape and remove the subassembly. Next, you'll remove the logic board. First, disconnect the cables. If the optional hard drive is installed, disconnect the hard drive power cable from connector J14. Release the latch and disconnect the speaker cable from connector J15. Disconnect the floppy drive cable from connector J13. Release the latch and disconnect the eject mechanism cable from connector J17. Disconnect the hard drive data cable from connector J8. If a modem interface card has been installed, remove it. Remove the 2 screws and disconnect the card from connector J10. Next, remove the 2 remaining logic board mounting screws. Raise the rear of the logic board and pull it out until the PDS connector clears the subassembly. Carefully lift the logic board with the connected new bus adapter straight up and out of the subassembly. Remove the new bus adapter card by gently rocking it side to side and disconnect it from logic board connector J12. Stop the tape and remove the modem card, logic board, and new bus adapter. Now remove the floppy drive from the subassembly. Turn over the subassembly and place it on the workbench pad with the floppy drive up. Pull out the plastic new bus adapter card guide. Disconnect the floppy drive cable connector. Pull out the two rear mounting latches and slightly lift the rear of the floppy drive. Pull out the two front latches and remove the floppy drive from the subassembly. Stop the tape and remove the floppy drive. The following procedures demonstrate the removal of the 230 megabyte hard drive in the enhanced Duo dock. The hard drive data cable and the hard drive power cable have already been disconnected from the logic board. Bend out the two mounting latches toward the floppy drive to release them. Swing up the hard drive and hold it in that position. Then disconnect the power and data cables from the hard drive assembly. Before returning the hard drive assembly to Apple, you would remove the jumper. Remove the 4 Phillips screws on the hard drive. The jumper is located on the A0 pins. Stand the subassembly on its side. Before removing the hard drive data and power cables, note how the cables are routed. Unhook the hard drive data cable, the floppy drive cable, and the hard drive power cable from beneath the cable clamps, and pull the cables out from the chassis access hole. Stop the tape and remove the hard drive. Turn over the subassembly so that it is right side up. To remove the ejector, first pry open the cable clamp and remove the cable from the clamp. Next, remove the ferrite bead from the cable. Open the cable clamp and remove the cable. Push down on the flat surface of the ferrite bead, pull open the two halves of the bead, and remove the ferrite bead from the ejector cable. Turn the subassembly over. Unlace the ejector cable from the subassembly. Remove the ejector cable from the mounting bracket on the outside edge of the subassembly. Pull the cable through its access hole. Remove the speaker cable from the subassembly cable clamps. Push the back of the speaker until the speaker comes out. Pull the cable through its access hole. Stop the tape and remove the ejector and speaker. Next, you'll remove the power supply from the base. Set the subassembly aside and place the base on the workbench pad. To remove the power supply, press the two plastic latches and push the power supply in the receptacle. Remove the power supply from the base. To remove the lock plug assembly, pull the locking clip off the end of the lock plug. Push the lock plug out of the base. Stop the tape and remove the power supply and lock plug assembly. Begin by replacing the lock plug assembly. Set the lock plug into the base and secure the locking clip on the end of the lock plug. To replace the power supply, first hook the cutouts in the bottom of the power supply over the three mounting tabs in the base. Then, firmly push the power supply toward the rear panel until the power supply latches into place. Stop the tape and replace the lock plug assembly and power supply. Next, you'll replace the speaker. To replace the speaker, first route the speaker cable back through the access hole. Press the speaker into place on the outside edge of the subassembly. Attach the speaker cable to the subassembly cable clamps. Route the speaker back through the chassis access hole. Next, route the ejector cable through its access hole. Place the ejector in the mounting bracket on the outside edge of the subassembly. Attach the cable to the subassembly cable clamp. Route the ejector through the chassis access hole. Replace the cable in the ferrite bead and close the two halves of the ferrite bead. Route the cable through its clamp and snap the clamp closed. Stop the tape and replace the speaker and ejector. The following procedures demonstrate the replacement of the 230 megabyte hard drive in the enhanced Duo dock. First, replace the jumper on the A0 pins. Replace the hard drive carrier and 4 Phillips screws. Route the hard drive power cable, the floppy drive cable, and the hard drive data cable beneath the floppy drive bay and through the chassis access hole, and hook the cables beneath the cable clamps. Lower the hard drive and push down on the drive until it snaps beneath the mounting brackets. Connect the hard drive data cable and the hard drive power cable to the hard drive. Stop the tape and replace the hard drive. To replace the floppy drive, first lower the inject-eject mechanism into the floppy disk slot. Then push the drive down until it latches. Connect the floppy drive cable. Replace the plastic NuBus card guide by sliding it back into position. Stop the tape and replace the floppy drive. Next, turn the subassembly over to replace the NuBus adapter, logic board, and modem card. Connect the NuBus adapter card to logic board connector J12. Holding the cables out of the way, carefully lower the logic board into the subassembly. Replace the two logic board mounting screws. To replace the modem card, if one was installed, press the modem connector onto connector J10. Install the two modem card mounting screws. Reconnect the hard drive power cable, the eject mechanism cable, the speaker cable, the floppy drive cable, and the hard drive data cable to their connectors on the logic board. All DuoDock logic boards should include an EMI shield over the video port. Stop the tape and replace the adapter card, logic board, and modem card. Now, replace the subassembly in the base. When replacing the subassembly, be careful not to bend or damage the EMI fence fingers adjacent to the rear connectors on the logic board. Push the subassembly toward the back of the dock and close the gap. Tighten the two captive screws that secure the subassembly to the base. Reconnect the power supply cable to connector J11. Stop the tape and replace the subassembly. Finally, replace the release mechanism and cover. Place the release mechanism in the subassembly. Replace the four long screws to secure the release mechanism to the logic board. Reconnect the two-wire motor cable to connector J18. To replace the cover, place the notches at the back corners of the cover into the notches at the raised corners of the base. Stop the tape and replace the release mechanism and cover. This concludes the take apart and reassembly of the DuoDock. Make sure the mini dock is shut down and disconnected from the PowerBook. Begin by removing the top cover. Using a number 6 Torx driver, remove the 3 self-threading Torx screws that secure the top cover to the bottom cover. To separate the top cover from the base, you must first close the mechanical release lever. Push it in flush with the top cover. Carefully separate the top and bottom covers until the covers disengage at the rear mounting tabs. Stop the tape and remove the top cover. Next, remove the mechanical latch. Using the number 6 Torx driver, remove the 2 self-threading screws that secure the plastic faceplate to the mechanical latch. Release the catch and pull the faceplate straight off the mechanical latch. Using the number 6 Torx driver, remove the 2 self-threading Torx screws that secure the mechanical latch and logic board to the bottom cover. Pull away the flex cable and lift off the mechanical latch. Stop the tape and remove the mechanical latch. To remove the logic board, slightly raise the front of the logic board and pull the board out of the bottom cover. Disconnect the modem interface card, if installed, from connector J6. Stop the tape and remove the logic board. Begin reassembly of the Duo Mini Dock by replacing the logic board in the bottom case. Reconnect the modem interface card if installed. When replacing the logic board, be careful not to bend the metal grounding tabs on the bottom cover. Make sure the logic board snaps into the 2 bottom cover screw mounts. Stop the tape and replace the logic board. Replace the mechanical latch by inserting the 2 mounting tabs on the latch through the holes in the flex cable. Secure the latch to the logic board and bottom cover with the 2 Torx screws. Replace the faceplate on the mechanical latch. Secure the faceplate to the latch with the 2 Torx screws. Stop the tape and replace the mechanical latch. Finally, replace the top cover on the Duo Mini Dock. Reconnect the top cover to the bottom cover at the rear mounting tabs. Secure the top cover to the bottom cover with the 3 torque screws. Stop the tape and replace the top cover. This concludes the Duo Mini Dock take apart and reassembly sections of this videotape.